Um, and then in a few minutes, start answering questions. But to kick it off, I went over to Mile High. Oh, here I got a new blackboard. I'll shut Riley out of this because, um, and I don't have many updates about Mile High. Um, I talked to Adam though. Oh, you know how we were talking about dominant eye, non-dominant eye,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been testing it out with the scope, and for me, I can't find a difference. But here's the thing: like Adam pointed out that his brother is left eye dominant, but if your dominance is like really extreme, when he gets on with his right eye, he actually can't see the reticle. He only sees the side of the scope. Um, because that eye is just so dominant. He's like looking through, but all he can really register is the side of the rifle, which definitely would be a reason that dominance is a factor. But if your eye's not so dominant that you can't even literally see through the rifle scope, but if you can see the reticle, then it's a no-brainer. He agreed with that, but he did point out that there are some people like his brother that have
Yeah, I
such
mean, mine is
dominance.
bad. I have like
Yeah.
2400 in my right eye now.
Well, yeah. Um,
Well, hang on, I'm getting but.
yeah, I mean, if you look through the rifle and you literally just can't even see through it, all you see is the side of the scope. Obviously, I mean, you would
Yeah,
know that
yeah,
is an issue.
mine is so bad. I mean, I taught myself. I would work it and work it and work it because my right eye was so bad. Like I said, it's 2400 and it's got the stigmatism which makes it worse because it's round, not out of round. And so I just constantly, like when I was down at Rifles Only, I would take away the information from my left eye until my right eye was focused. Then I would bring the information back and try and keep doing that until my right eye stayed in charge. You know what I mean? So I kept training it to work that way. And if I'm tired, I have to like cover my left eye. You'll see my left eye will droop and I'll want to close it because of the dominance issue. And if I'm overtired or there's different things, it it all bothers that eye. So yeah, there's things that could happen for sure that are
I wonder if the high riser will make your eye get tired less.
yes,
That would
because
be a
it's
good
more
thing to notice.
comfortable and you're centered and you're not looking up through your glasses. You're not doing so. I find my head position in all those ways is so much better. And so I was just making sure this was on. Hang on. But yeah, I think it does. I think not rolling your head, not crushing down, not trying to do this and put your neck and shoulder under tension, and not doing that is going to make your head that much better. You know how we want to
Yeah.
define it. It's hard to say, but yeah, I mean, up and Facebook stopped because of an error. Continue
Oh,
it out.
shit.
So we just lost Facebook immediately. It was 3, 4
Okay.
minutes and this is on the other laptop. So clearly there's a problem with Facebook, but I'm not going to sweat it.
Yeah.
So we'll just stay on YouTube and we'll call it good. Um, and so yeah, the hell with it. Facebook is doing whatever Facebook is doing and just knocking us off. I don't know why. Um,
Yeah. But I mean, I think that proves it because two computers, it's not a setting thing, it's a Facebook thing. Yeah.
yeah,
That
yeah, he
makes
likes
sense.
better. We all like good head. I mean, yeah, the dude's somebody in the comments is laughing. I'll put it up. Yeah, we all do. Who doesn't? I could put the comments up. So if we get comments, Chris, I'll pop them up for you.
Oh
And the
shit. Yeah. Something just popped right over you. It says,
yeah,
it's so small though, I'm gonna have to come up close. I like better
better
head
head
too.
too.
Well, actually, like a friend of mine, I don't know if he's watching this, but he sometimes just sends memes that he thinks are funny. And Sometimes I think they're funny too. The funny one he sent today is like, it's like three pictures and it says, um, I forget whether it's the definition or the term, but either way, it says like having like sex with three people is called a threesome. Uh, Sex with two people is called a twosome. Maybe that's why they call you handsome.
Exactly. That's funny. I like that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Anyway,
that's and yeah, I mean, it's just let me see. I'm gonna drop this in really quick. So hang on one second. I'm gonna grab my copy link, and then I'm gonna go to let's see if X will come up, and then there we go. I'll drop it into our X thing and just see. Oh, well, great, I'm not allowed.
okay. I have
Sign
like
in.
5 followers on X, so
Yeah, I get it.
I'm kind of like I feel like maybe avoiding the riser, um, because we've been talking about it so much. Not that it's not cool and important stuff, but I don't, I mean, like to just mix up the topics. It'd be cool to have questions from people, but
Everything's good.
um, one thing that I've noticed, and I don't know if it's worth talking about, but just as an option, um, on social media, everything kind of goes in waves, and one thing I think is pretty funny is that, like, the
Hi,
questioning.
Chris.
Hi, Laura. What's Show me your fingernails.
NASCAR
Ooh.
tomorrow. We're going to the Daytona 500.
So
So
it's their symbol. It's the yellow, the red, and the blue, and then I put number 5, my favorite finger.
Yeah.
Doesn't have it on it.
So it's not the checkered flag in the middle.
I can't hear him. What he say?
the checkered flag. No, it's not. She didn't do the checkered flag.
Oh, oh,
She
oh. Did you tell her about my idea to get my nails done?
No, she was out on the phone. She hasn't really. She just came in. She was just talking when I asked her to check everything. So I didn't tell her that we were
Oh, tell her I'm
texting.
going to get my nails done too.
She wants to put dope on his nails. And so what I was thinking with that, and I get my fingers here. I was gonna do like 200. No, but yeah, it doesn't matter which way. But I was gonna do like 200, 2, 3, 4, 5, six, or 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, then 700, 800, 900, 1,000 and stuff. So
Hey,
yeah,
Chris, you better ride with us down to Texas when we go for the Sniper's Hide Cup.
Okay.
November.
Heck yeah. Or we could get CBs and we could be like,
Oh, we could do that. Yeah, CB radios and just. Oh, we
or I
have them.
could just drive with you guys.
I have the Baofungs.
Wouldn't that be cool
Baofungs.
though? Like,
Bow.
hey,
Bow.
Smokey and the Bandit.
Yeah, I have the Baofungs, so those are good, man. We could do a regular channel on the Baofungs like a CB. Those are like the prepper radios. They're like $50.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
we
Or I
do
could
a
just ride
lot
with you
of
guys.
beginner classes. So he's asking. We've actually morphed the classes. I am doing beginner classes with Mark, so anything like that, beginner wise. But Chris and I was thinking about this today because NASCAR's coming in. We're going to the Daytona 500. It's kind of different, and listening to like the drivers talk about the prep, the mental. So last night was the qualifying, and how they qualify is only the top 2 guys are locked in, and so everybody else then has to race for their position. So 1 and 2 hold that, and then tonight they're having races to find out like 3 to 40. Well, like I was watching Dale Jr. because he's got his Xfinity guy in the 40 car and he's stepping up, and this is the first time Dale Jr. is hosting a cup car. And so they're talking about the drivers, the preps, and then they had Helio Castroneves in, who is an IndyCar champion, won the Indianapolis 500, I think twice for him. He's racing in this race. He wants to check that box because 2 Indianapolis guys have won Daytona. AJ Foyt and Mario Andretti won Daytona as well as the Indianapolis 500. Well, I was thinking like what Chris and I are doing when we're building a shooter, it's like putting together a NASCAR driver or a professional sports athlete. I really think the program that Chris and I have, regardless of your experience, will put you in a place that will let you go in any direction. Like I think some of the biofongs don't need a license. I think there's channels that they have that aren't licensed, so we could do something. They're fake license. I can get one. But anyway, I
I didn't see a
believe.
question pop up.
Oh, I didn't bring it up, but somebody's saying the biofongs
Uh-oh.
you might need a transmit on a But I think I have the ones that go to the free bands. There's some free bands in there
Yeah,
that you
you
can
could just
just
change the
register.
frequency.
Yeah, totally. I think there's some free bands.
But it'd be more exciting if we were on the non-free bands and we just used it anyway.
Yeah, I
Like,
just would use
catch
them
me if you
anyway, right?
can.
Because they're
You'll
chasing
never
us.
take me alive, Kappa.
So anyway, I really believe the way Chris does competitions, the way we've combined my fundamentals and the basic stuff that like Mark and I do with Chris's more advanced positional competition, I really think we're creating a better shooter all the way around where if you're a new shooter, you're going to be in a different place. Like, we talk about how the best way to learn a comp is to shoot a comp. You got to go there, and it's studying for a test. There's unique things, there's other people's rules, and it's like you have to go and study for this test. It's taking an SAT going to a match, right? So they have
Hmm.
practice SATs and things like that. Well, I think almost in this driver model and looking at how the pro sports have gone and have adapted, like we've even watched some of it because they have shows and show them training. And I think how they've adapted the technology, have adapted the sports medicine, and have adapted some of, outside of driving techniques into becoming a driver. I think what Chris and I are doing is very similar as far as, you know, taking someone who's relatively new with a new rifle, new setup, and in 3 days, we can put them in a place where, I mean, everybody's going to have nerves. You always have nerves going to something. But I think we're in a place that that shooter can go in every situation and he won't be a box of thumbs or something. You know what I mean? Now, there's always an individual, but if somebody said they're coming to Chris and I and their goal is in less than 3 months to start shooting a comp or something, I think in that 3 days, we can build the baseline for that person to have everything they need. And if they followed the plan, they would see results like Chris sees with people in shooting when he mentors, But if they didn't want to do that and they just wanted to shoot on their own, they have all the skills for that. They can dope rifles, they understand the gravity ballistics, they can do these things. They understand software if they need to, because we normally take on Saturday or the second day your dope because we doped you to 1,000. We have gravity ballistics true data. We then align that to a Kestrel or your software, and now now you understand how to do it. And it's no crazy mystery. The software's not blowing you out of the water. It's like, this is the path. A, B, C, D, you're done with your software. So I really think we create, the way the program is today, we create a really good shooter in a lot less time.
Yes, I agree. I just kind of had because I think in pictures, I'm drawing it really quick.
But yeah,
Um,
I mean, so you know what I mean? So as far as like I've gotten away, and we tried to do the, a PR1, a PR2, PR3, PR4, advanced, this, that. Now it's just like, this is like a Mark and Frank class. Mark and Frank classes are very basic. They're for your newest guy, usually an older shooter getting into it late. But we do get new shooters. We do get comp shooters to fix their scars, and we get a lot of law enforcement because our class is inexpensive. But those basic Mark classes, taking what works in a short period of time, I then translate to what Chris sees and what Chris is doing. So we see a certain amount of shooter, right? I see, like we were talking with budget rifles and stuff, I see in my Mark and Frank classes a lot of really inexpensive gear, a lot of day one gear, a lot of stuff where guys mounted the scope before they came and they never even shot it. That's like a Mark and Frank class. But when you come over to like a Chris and I class, it's a lot more dynamic. It's a lot more working drills that are outside the box. It's scrutiny on a different level, especially when we get to the wind. In the basic class, while I'll give you the craft quick win formula, in the basic class, there's not a lot of on your own work with that wind. It's you're kind of getting a call from us. We're starting you in a place, and we're working to dope people out to 1,000 yards. So we're giving wind calls. Where on the third day you can work there's like an hour of free time. But in a Chris and Frank class, we're scoring wind. We're putting you on specific targets to look at the wind. So it's a fundamental reinforcement, a fundamental fix. It's a check your data to make sure it's good, and then it's go. It's positional. It's wind. It's all those things you need to succeed when it's somebody else's rules.
Mhm.
So it's a different style of class that I feel Chris and I have. And then Fort Morgan, because our classes are based out of Fort Morgan. We control that range. We have a 140-degree fan. We have targets that can go, from the firing line, you go to 1,800 yards. And we have wind targets on 15-degree lanes that go to 1,000 yards. So you're shooting 270, you're shooting 90, you're shooting these different, up to almost like 290, almost 300 degrees. So you're going from like 90, up there pretty high. And it gives you opportunity to change the look. It gives you the opportunity to pick out different targets, big and small. There's animal targets. There's 1 MOA targets at distance. There's a bigger plate to catch the miss. There's mile. There's, you know what I mean? It's just there's unknown distance or odd ranges. Not everything is on the even number. There's a 680 over there. There's a 540 over there. There's a 320 over here. There's all these different numbers. So the Chris and Frank class in Fort Morgan, it's a carnival. It's any direction you want to go. And it's designed where if this batch of shooters want to work on this batch of shooters can work on this at the same time. And we have a scoring system in there. So it's not just shoot, hit the plate, golf clap, right? It's shoot, hit the plate. Where are you plus and minus from center? And what does that mean you look like? At the end of the day, Chris is able to say to you, you call wind to 4 miles an hour. You call wind to 3 miles an hour. This is your window for your wind call, which is big. And the goal is to get people down to 1 mile an hour, which is next to impossible because it's too much distance. There's too much variability to call wind within 1 mile an hour, but that's the goal. So Chris, what do you got?
Oh, dude, you're gonna like this, or it's gonna freak people out. All right, this is what I imagined when you were talking. Well, let
Yeah,
me
you're
get
good.
this on the
Yeah,
screen.
that way towards you. Yep.
So you have the shooter, right? The dude that wants to learn. You got fundamentals is the bigger circle because everybody has to have fundamentals. So if somebody takes a Mark and Frank class, they get the bigger fundamentals because, you know,
It's structured that
if
way, right?
yeah, and if you're learning, that's the better option, right? If you're just starting like that, you need that. But that only works as well as the fundamentals and experience of the shooter, which you need. But in order to achieve a specific goal, so this is step one, you have 2A, which is be generalist and good at fundamentals, and you could still probably do pretty good. But to really achieve maximum, the level is at step two, you tell us what your goal is, we know which of these to pick. And so we say that person needs this, this, and this. Now, these three things put into the fundamentals of the shooter, right? Now we have those three circles, allows you to achieve much more in terms of your success. And so what, and I'm not just saying um to I'm going to put C instead of A because it's for competition or something like that. Also, you know, I'm sure there's other options, but if you have fundamentals and the shooter has fundamentals and they understand their fundamentals, they don't have to be perfect, but you have a goal. We know how to take the subcomponents or the sub skills and say, okay, we're going to keep working on fundamentals, but we're going to add win calling or not win calling. Right? If you're doing a hunter match, you need win calling. If you're doing PRS, you don't need win calling. You need corrections. You need to be able to correct. And we can apply the correct thing in that, given that it's a short period of time. We say, well, you know, this shooter might need three things. This shooter might need five. And we know which ones to pick because of our assessments and diagnostics.
Yeah, a lot of that.
And then
We look at you
we
first, right?
we apply it, and then we also say, look, there's only so much that you can grow in one day, but you have this and understand what we're looking for. And now take it, practice it, and then go achieve your goals. But what we've seen, you know, I don't have data from people having a good fundamentals class and then going straight to competitions. But I could say that the people that have come to me, because this is what I do, right? I don't spend a lot of time on fundamentals. I probably could, but there's so many places like Frank and Mark, like Phil, like Jacob. You know, it's like, man, I don't want to be more of the same. Go to
Right.
them, they're experts, but I do this and nobody's doing this. So that when we put our things together, it's like, well, shit, I'm learning from your expertise diagnosing fundamentals, and you're learning, you know, what's important to me. And we're saying, look, they need B, S, T, and Q. So we take B, S, T, and Q, we mix them together, and then we say, okay, you have enough to be able to go take it and run. Now, if I'm coaching, I could say, look, it's going to take you 4 months working with me, but we're going to take this. And so the data that I have is largely from 4 months to 12 months of me doing this. Um, you know, if we take a match, and I don't know how big matches are, let's say 200, a lot of times I'm picking guys that are, you know, around 100th place, and all of them have got to the top 20
Which is
because,
insane.
yeah, and more than 80% of them have got top 10 or a trophy. And some of them, they repeat it. But the better you get, the more detailed these get, which takes kind of more creative, non-traditional work. But being able to take fundamentals, because you always got to go back to fundamentals. Like even me, I went out today and I was helping a guy in something that I don't talk a lot about, that I know how to do, which is carbine pistol. But his application has nothing to do with PRS and or whatever. And it's like, look, we're going to start with fundamentals because without those, you got nothing. You know, it'd be like somebody reading the wind a half a mile an hour, but they shoot like a 5-inch group. You know, you're gonna suck anyways.
Yeah. I mean,
So we went back
fundamentals
to
are
the
the
fundamentals,
foundation which all shooting is built on. You know, so
right? Which
what
is
house
which is
did
why I put one here, right?
right,
Because you
right.
said, well, you know, we do the basic class, and I was like, well, I don't know that it's basic. It's the foundation, and without that foundation, nothing could be built on top of it. You need to take a Mark and Frank class or a Phil class or a Jacob class because if you don't have control of this, your tower is going to be too narrow. But if you're going to achieve a goal, you're going to have control of some of these. But knowing which ones apply to your game or your job, and so we said, look, let's square these away. Let's pick these that are important for your application, and I'm going to show you metrics. But even in the first day, I said, look, if you never come back, but you practice this within 4 or 5 months, you're going to be one of the best guys. Because I mean, he knew how to shoot, but I said, look, you just got to take this, and I gave him all the tools and said, look, I could help you, or you could take it and run. But it's knowing what to take and run and practice. And at a class, that's only one day. If there's something out there that in one day you could go from the bottom to the top, like holy fuck, like that's magic, right? I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
got the Harry Potter wand, right? But
That's
so
it.
far, um, it there isn't magic. The magic is knowing what to practice and what to keep practicing and not being tricked by a diversion because you're headed towards a goal. And think about this with life. You say, well, I'm going to grow up and I'm going to be all these great things. And at some point along the path, most people jump off. And once you jump off, it's really hard to get back on. And whatever it is in your life, if unless you went and achieved it, well, shit. When you went to be a Marine and you were like, I'm going to be a scout sniper. How many people went to go be a scout sniper and just never got there because something happened along the way? They got their
Yeah, we
wife
failed
pregnant. They
half
got
our
kicked out.
class.
They drank.
We started
Um,
at like 35 and I graduated 17.
right. And some of those people probably had the opportunity to come back and try again, but they're like, oh shit, that's a lot of work.
Right.
When you get off the path, it's fucking hard as shit to get back on. And there's great examples of people that did, but like Phil Vallejo, he says like, oh, he got kicked out of whatever for whatever reason. The reason isn't important, right? That's personal stuff, but he had the wherewithal to say, fuck that, it's a goal, and he did it. And he's he's better for it. But that's very hard to do. One, not people get off the course. So if you come to a class, we'll say this is what you need to do. Staying on the course takes incredible willpower. Coaching, you got my willpower, but it costs a little bit more. Um, but if you could take that and run, or you could come periodically and get tune-ups, like, oh, you were doing good, but now you're paying attention to the wrong thing. And usually paying attention to the wrong thing is, all right, I started doing this, and then on Facebook I saw instructor
Yeah, squirrel.
XYZ. They said do it this way. And I think our tendency is when we hear something that aligns with what we're already doing, we're going to be like, yeah, I'm going to do that because it sounds easy. You're like, fuck, I already do that.
Yeah, makes sense,
I'm going
right?
to
I'm
get
going to go
better.
that way because that's what I know.
And they're telling me that I got to redo all this stuff. That seems like a lot of work. Well, guess what? Those people stay exactly the same because they're doing what they were already doing. So if
Well,
you
that
came to
and
our class twice a year, 3 times a year, we're going to force you back on track because we're going to hold you accountable. But yeah, this is the ingredient to success. You want to go on a expensive hunt, and that's something I don't get. Like I know it's a squirrel, but I have heard of people, and this is not a high figure, pay $100,000 to go on a hunt, right?
right,
Somewhere in the
easily.
world.
Yeah, easily. Any of the stands.
And they want a 5 pound rifle because it's 5 pounds. They want, all the fancy stuff, and they paid
Huge
all this
Magnum.
money.
It's going to be the biggest
And
Magnum
we
they
said,
can get in the smallest rifle.
right. And they're like, well, I could shoot a 5 inch group because it's so light and so crazy, but but it's 5 pounds. And we said, well, if you made that rifle 11 pounds, you got a 2 inch group. You don't think that spending $100,000 and being willing to carry 6 pounds more to almost guarantee success versus kind of a coin toss? Like when push comes to shove, this $100,000 is hinged on one shot.
Yeah.
Are you going to take a rifle that can't almost guarantee that you're going to be successful? You're literally gambling with $100,000 because somebody told you you're going to be better carrying 5 pounds than 11 pounds. Where the 11-pound option is now your chances for hitting the kill zone are exponentially better. I think that's fucking crazy. So many times in shooting, you have one shot. Man, I want the most success. Like, I want to know my rifle and my capability. I'm going to hit that shot. Not, well, I got a 25% chance of getting it. Who the fuck says, oh, let's flip a coin twice and put $100,000 on it? But that's what people are doing because they're like, well, I heard I need a 5 pound 50 cal. Oh,
Yeah.
oh,
I
you
mean,
could just give me $100,000
yeah.
uh, because you're going to come home empty-handed with expensive equipment.
Well, even in the
It
rifles
just
only
blows my mind.
days, we had a pro hunter who did Africa almost exclusively. He made all his guides, and because they would go over in like a block, and so he would make them all come to Rifles Only for a hunt workup. And so we had their equipment, we had their stuff, and we would get them and work them up because, like you said, these were huge dollar um hunts in Africa. And it was like you're gonna pay $1,000 and go to Rifles Only because you're not gonna waste all of our time and your money missing an African game because you can't shoot. So that
Right.
pro hunter would come like 4 times a year, depending on his schedule, with blocks of, customers that were going on big dollar hunts.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've even had him like the best. I like the story a lot because he comes a lot. So there was a local guy. He came through Menchaca and Mile High when we were doing the classes for Mile High every month. And student comes in, all good equipment, missed the elk at 125 yards. And he's like, I missed an elk. And it's like, yeah. And now after the class, the first elk he took after that was at 5:30. And so what he does now is he gets an elk tag, he comes to class. He gets a big game tag, he comes to class. And that is a pretty typical. And Mark is the same way. We all worked with Mark in some form or another. The big hunts, he came to class. Getting ready to leave, he came to class. And so he was going
But we
over.
could tune their fundamentals, and we could say, like to Mark,
Yeah.
you can make this shot inside of 400 yards. So if you range it and it's 450, don't take it. Yes, you could hit it, but you could
Mm-hmm.
miss too. But we could say, look, you are solid inside of 4 or 300 or 200. But we could say to a shooter, you're going on an expensive hunt. I'll tell you at the end of class what your maximum distance is, and you're going to do it. And if it's too far away, you still have options, and we can tell you what some of those options are. But really, it comes down to you range it and you go, okay, that's a little bit too far to guarantee success. Now we implement plan A or B or
Yeah, move a
C,
little. Right, right.
right? Otherwise, you got to have a second shooter with a suppressed rifle. And then when they shoot simultaneously to make sure the animal gets hit. And then
Right.
you just don't say anything. You're like, oh, good shot, but it was somebody else, secretly hiding there, like, hey, Frank, go ahead and be suppressed. But when you hear that shot go off, I'm going to
Shoot your.
count down,
Yeah.
shoot at the same time, but make
Yeah,
sure it gets hit
I'll
because
be your lion guy who just happens to hit your animal too, just to make sure.
yeah, except when there's two holes, you'd be like, what?
Okay, yeah, that's
Oh,
all
my
right.
my your bullet must have blown apart. Um,
But yeah, I mean, there's all these little, and I really think like looking at it and looking at the way the program is advanced and looking at how people shoot, because there's a lot of anecdotal. I have so many students. Heck, if you go to the Rifles Only years, it's triple. And then you come up to from 2014 to now, just doing it independently like I do. I've got a shit ton of students in 10 years or for 11 years now, independently. And so I see the way people operate. I understand how the hunters in Alaska and the hunters in different places go. I understand how the comp guys come in and what scars they have and where they need to be fixed. And then the law enforcement, I see because those guys, like I said, the Mark and Frank classes, we'd have a ton of law enforcement mixed in because they were cheap and available and we came to them. Even like a big one is like the Ames, Iowa guys. Those guys are super active. They got a great SWAT team over there. And he comes to class every time we come to Iowa. He brings his teams when we come to Iowa. And we're sustainment training or we're continuing education for a lot of these people, and it's necessary,
yeah,
right?
I mean, being a goal-focused person, it's easy for me to think like this, but if anybody has any goal, we could pick the things that they're going to need, assess them, tune them up, give them a strategy, and they're going to achieve that. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like it is going to work. But you also give them realistic expectations. Like, look, you're going to be in the top 50%, or you're going to be in the top 20%. if you can do this. And when you mention nerves, like shit, we could train the nerve thing down too, because that's just like everything. We can set up your training so you're not gonna be nervous at a
Yeah,
match.
yeah, because we know how to push you to fail, and then we know how to mix in mental stuff. I don't. The mental game is so big, and to me, it's getting bigger. In as far as weight that I'm putting on stuff, because again, watching these NASCAR guys, watching their faces, paying attention to what they're doing, and listening to them talk, and everything for them is a mental game. They're like, I got to do it this way. If I, I got to make sure my head's good. My head's good. And Chris and I last year saw that mental game rise. The more we push people to failure, the more the mental game became a bigger component of it. So
Yeah.
I really
Well,
do.
because you see the mental thing come out because it 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 elicits that mental part,
Yes.
and we say, okay, here's where you broke down. Let's just strengthen it.
No,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think and then you mentioned NASCAR, but in shooting, it gets more and more competitive. Probably every match, every season, every year. So it's incredibly
Well, the gear
difficult.
is so tuned with each other. Like if your goal is to be a top 25 person, there's a path for gear. And you're probably not going to be deviated unless you're an anomaly in some way. More than likely, you're running that 6 millimeter at 2850, the same as everybody else. It's probably that Dasher or GT, something small and light. But odds are, equipment wise, you're within a tenth of each other.
Oh yeah. I mean, shit. It, I don't know. It's anecdotal because I don't know the truth. But when I looked at that PRS match in Texas, there's like 300 people. I don't know the actual number, but it's a huge, huge. It was the biggest match I think I've ever just scrolled through. But there are several multi PRS winners, like 60, 70, 80 places down. They might be out of tune. They might be whatever. But to me, that means okay, they have good fundamentals. They might be a little it's perishable enough that, life happens, like, totally, I get it, but my guess is there was probably 100 people there capable of winning, and what separated everybody was the fewest mental mistakes,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. And win call
if the
probably. But yeah.
competition is getting so big, if the competition is getting so good and there's 100 people at a match that could win it, the mental part is
Is
everything. Once you
right.
break that threshold. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's nuts. So for sure, it has to be a part of training now because, you know, it's crossed that threshold of people have the skill, but one point to the next, it's a
Yeah, I
little
mean,
mental
from
mistake.
everything I've seen, and I've seen things with other people, I know what I do with Mark. I think our pipeline and the way we have it laid out right now for when we do stuff together, it's maximized. You know what I mean? To give you the widest net for whatever direction you want to go with your shooting. You know,
Yeah, and it wasn't planned, but we do have that custom NRL Hunter in April that somebody asked for, and then it's open to anybody. It's just not there's not a link all over the place. But in April, we have a class for NRL Hunter that's Wednesday and Thursday before the one that's up in Wyoming Collins match. And, it'll be cool to have a focused, targeted, we've already picked out the things that they're going to need to succeed.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
fuck.
Oh, did you spill?
But it'll be cool to see that play out. But if there are people watching this, just send us a message saying, hey, I'd like to sign up for that. But understand that it's a Wednesday and
Is that
Thursday, 2 day
moonshine? It
geared
looks like
towards
moonshine. It's in a
NRL
mason jar.
Hunter.
It's moonshine.
I could light a lighter and see what happens.
Yeah, was it lighter fluid with your arts and crafts or something? So it'll boom, blow up. But Chris,
Man, but
as you can
it's
tell,
there's
Chris has the
like
colors. Chris is very arts and craftsy. He has all the colored pens and markers, and he's got the poster boards. So that's probably like,
wait till I start knitting.
oh, nice, dude. I like knitted stuff. I have like in those things. My grandmother was a knitter, and she would. It was special to get a quilt from her or an Afghan. She would knit them and
Because she
everything.
spent like a year
Yeah.
sitting
Oh,
there
forever. She'd sit in
like
her couch. She would just do her thing and just never talk to anybody. And my grandmother lived to 102 with 14 kids. Technically, she had 16, but she had 14 kids that lived. And yeah, so she would knit. So I think I have two of them here that were hers. So they're kind of special, but I have them displayed, not on beds or anything. But that was the thing, man. You wanted grandma's Afghans. They got dragged around because usually she made them for you when you were a baby and born. And so you got one that was personalized in a way like a color when you were little. And then from there, there's too many of us, we start hitting the 40s. And yeah, you won't really, Chris, the guy, I'm gonna put this one up. It says, Chris, you won't reload, but you'll knit. Come on, Chris. That's absolutely right. He would probably do that. He'll sit there, knit one, purl two, knit one, purl two. That is a very
Time better
military
spent.
thing.
Time better spent
Yeah.
knitting.
Yeah. He does reload. He's got but you know what it is? Our time is so bad. Like reloading, but everybody. How many times do you read, I got a match this weekend. I haven't started reloading yet. That's like 3/4 of them. Because it's time consuming. It's a hassle. But that's why I say I don't do well either, because I always shoot factory. I don't have no time to reload. And so I'm shooting factory, which is throwing me all over the place. And, we've mentioned this a good dozen times. We'll take people's hand loads and they shoot little bitty groups at 1,000 yards. We give them a box of factory ammo and it's 4 out of 5 on the plate. So clearly there's a difference. And the fact that,
Yeah.
our time is limited, or if I go to a match, it's last minute. And, do I train and practice? Fuck no. I just do what I always do. I don't go, oh, I got to be good. I don't care. I'm not competitive that way anymore. And so it doesn't bother me. And
when I could shoot a craft drill that's like consistently under an inch, I'll start reloading. It's like my grandpa used to make me chop wood, and he would just say, "It'll warm you twice." It's like knitting. Like knitting will warm you twice because,
yes.
but reloading, oh shit! Like it's just gonna piss me off twice.
And then it's gone in like a millisecond. It's like I spent 8 minutes on this one. Adding everything up, 8 minutes on this single round, and it's gone in a millisecond. So,
right.
Laura
And a bad
says she
wind
wants
call,
to do it.
and you can't appreciate the standard deviation anyway.
Yeah, I don't care. Like the standard could be, we're shooting standards of 50 and we're fine. It's inside 600, but
Right.
But it is.
I mean, but yeah, I think I have no idea what I was gonna say. Yeah, I guess I would try knitting.
Knitting's cool. I mean, it's kind of
Yeah.
like it's a fidget, right? It's little fidgety
What about
things.
crochet?
Yeah, that's crochet. She would crochet kind of, but I mean, it's still like a fidget spinner. It's just fidgeting with 2 big sticks, like chopsticks.
Yeah, I could crochet a windrose.
Ooh, and then hats. We always need hats because there's always a wind.
So
It's always chilly, so we always need a wool hat.
I showed you, where the fuck did I put it?
I don't know.
I got these things. I was over at Hobby Lobby because I go there a lot.
We saw a giant one. I had to go to Men's Warehouse in out in Westminster near you. We were out at Westminster. There is a colossal Hobby Lobby around Harlan, 104, 80, 90, somewhere in there. There is a colossal Hobby Lobby. You should go to that one.
I go there all the time. Like
you go to that big
I
giant
walk in
one?
there. Well, I go to the one on by that mall where the Chop House is.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this is a little farther in. And it was the biggest Hobby Lobby we ever saw.
Oh, actually, it's across 25. It's right next to where Cabela's is off 25.
Oh,
But
yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
I was looking at because these foam boards, like I like these and I draw on them, and then I like to try different markers, and I get shit that I can cut, and my kids, they do the same stuff. But I saw this thing and I thought, oh my gosh, first I noticed I love maps and I love compass, and like, I have this dream of when I finally get the fuck out of this apartment, if I buy a house with land, um I'll get all these cool maps. Like I don't even care if it's nautical or whatever. I just fucking love maps. But I saw the degrees on there, but this fucking thing spins around,
Yeah,
right?
you got a whiz
So
wheel.
I'm gonna mark onto it different calculations so that you could just go whoosh, 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 whoosh for
And it
percentages
should. I
because
mean, they had the whiz wheel for a while, and there was a Taz wheel too from England. Because the
yeah.
pilots
So
use
I'm
them.
gonna mess with these because I got two of
Yeah,
them,
I
but I'm
have
just
a
gonna
win.
overlay.
I had a wind dope one. There was a whiz wheel for wind, but I believe it was only in MOA because it was old. It's probably 15, 20 years old. But it was like a whiz wheel for wind. I don't remember how good it was, but I did have it. I think it's back in Wheat Ridge. But
Well, it's
I
going to
did.
be easy because I mean,
Yeah.
first of all, you got like the 25, 50, 75, 99, and 5, 100. But then, like when you go backwards, like people struggle, and I can basically just do it in my head now. But I can understand like it takes practice. But if underneath that I have a transition from here to here, I could just color it in, and then when you move it, it'll line up what your hold would be. So it's just a matter of going, okay, if I'm gonna take this wind hold and go to there, it'll just show you what it is. And that it could have concentric rings to show the different transactions that are happening. It would be instant, and I think that'd be pretty cool. Like if you have the different percent of the distance,
Mm-hmm.
and then that turns to this. But if somebody goes, oh, I'm going to go from 75 to 25 to whatever, like, but if that 75 is one and a half the distance, what is it going to 25? Well, you kind of have to be able to see 75% to to now that's the whole number. So you're
Mm-hmm.
only going that the difference of the angle. And so it gets a little bit complicated, but I've spent a lot of time rehearsing all the transitions. But this would just visualize it because you could just have colored bars to show you going from here to here, 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 or whatever. And like, oh, easy. Like it's just a number. So if we could figure that out, maybe we could have the center part redone
I was gonna say,
and
just
just
take a
mark
piece
it
of
a whiz
paper.
wheel.
Just take a piece of paper and cut it out that fits, and then tape it inside underneath even, and then you can draw on it. And then you probably could put masking tape around the edge if you needed to put numbers on the edge. Is that what's on there? Masking
Well,
tape?
no, the numbers on the edge are already the compass. So
Oh,
you got
okay.
10,
So
20,
that's all you
30,
need,
40
right? I didn't know
degrees.
if you wanted to put your own number on
Yeah.
top of it. But yeah, why don't you just
Well,
cut out a circle and then just tape it in there and then just
oh,
draw
for
on
me,
it?
but if we were going to make it for other people just to have it, it would be cool to have the centerpiece remade
Oh,
to have our
absolutely.
date
But
on it.
that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying for prototype. Just put blank paper on top of it, draw what you want, and then from there we can prototype it and have it made in that laminate plastic with just the rivet in the middle. And it could be
Totally.
it could be done in seconds for cheap.
Yeah, like 3D printed and or whatever. Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna do that while we're talking here. I'm just gonna grab a piece of printer paper and cut it and
Yeah, I mean that's
tape it
like the
on. But
easiest way of doing it, and so yeah, not a
are
bad
there
thing.
more questions?
No, they're just commenting and just saying silly stuff. And it says, people think there's like here's one. People are talking, they're just not asking questions. It says that think there's a magic node of bullet seating and powder weight, but it's all superstition. So guys are just
Hmm.
talking, they're just going in and having
Those are
conversation.
fighting words. They feel safe on this thing because I, not that
Well,
I'm
because
not
we
fighting
don't
with
we
that,
don't
but
we don't argue the minutia
yeah.
of reloading. We don't argue minutia of anything but yourself. Really, it's the minutia of the wind. It's the minutia of the fundamentals, and then the rest is like don't worry about it. It's noise in the system. Let's just take care of what you need to take care of, and don't worry about these weird shit that doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, right. Like, I mean, yeah, I guess that's what it like put it the
Well, it's
most
me.
simple.
It's
If
me because Holly brought up Brian Litz dispelling myths, and it's me and Brian used to fight constantly with Spindrift because they'll give you there's 6 numbers out there of what it is, and none of them are really right. And the only couple times they tried to shoot it, it was half of what they said, and then but they made their money on selling you on Spindrift. And I don't do it. I don't care. I'm not shooting far enough. I'm worried about me and the wind call. And I even we went to Gunsight and I'm at Gunsight, bunch of guys from Alaska. We're doing the XLR course, and there's 4 of us or more shooting 300 Norma. We got the same load. And so there's 6-mile-an-hour wind. I got it doped. I'm spotting mostly. My gun wasn't working right. My rifle was binding when it got hot. It was an old Remington 700 I had built it on, and it would shoot 3 rounds, and then you'd have to put it away and wait. But anyway, so I'm spotting a lot. And I get the wind. We're at 2,000 yards, and there's a 18 by 24 inch target at $2,000. And so I shoot like the first 2 guys, and I know it's a 6-mile-an-hour wind. I know what the call is. I know everything, and guys are coming up and hitting. And third guy comes up, and he shoots, and he's way on the wrong side of the wind in the plate. And I'm like, dude, it's this wind call. Why are you over here? And he goes, well, I put in the Spindrift and Coriolis from my Applied Ballistics. And I'm like, well, what was it? And there he was like 8/10. I'm like, fuck no. So we did the math. We shot it and we went and looked at it. It was 3/10, 1 minute at 2,000 yards. Okay. But that's, you know what I mean? Anybody talking about it inside a mile is wasting all of our time. And you're going to blow a wind call by 2 3/10 that far away before you blow, before that Spindrift comes into play. And if you're a 4 MOA or 4 mile per hour shooter, all of that is inside your 1 mile an hour. I mean, your Spindrift sits in a mile an hour. So if you're nowhere near calling wind to a mile an hour, why are you expelling brain power to figure that number out? Spindrift and Coriolis, for everybody listening, regardless of what Brian says or anybody says, there is numbers. There's a Jim Boatwright who ran it. It is 1.25% of your elevation. So 1.25% is your Spindrift and Coriolis together. 1% of your elevation. So if you want to think about 1% and put that in your brain that you need it, great. Go for it. I'm saying you dope the wind. I don't care about 1% of noise. That 1% is 1 mile an hour of wind that I probably missed. So it's different people. So anyway, that's where my mindset is on some of the minutia of what people talk about or think about. It's even dropping a flat bottom rifle on a Game Changer bag. There's no canting. I'm not pushing that over. It's laying flat. It's sunk in the bag. I'd have to really be crooked in order to do something on a barricade that I need to worry about a level. I'd have to be doing something insanely dumb. And the way the rifles are set up, 20 pounds, flat bottom on a Game Changer is going to self-center it 90% of the way. So I don't sweat that shit. I mean, I get it. If they put a 1 minute target, yeah, check it. That's high priority, low priority. Man, that's a really small target. Everything better be right. But then you're slowing down. Same thing. You know what I mean? But if I'm shooting a 66%er at 400 to 600 yards, I'm not coming off that plate sitting on a Game Changer. There's no way. Nah, it's not happening. So that's where I'm. What are you drawing? Are you making your thing?
Yeah,
This
it's
is usually how stuff goes, everybody. So a picture, Chris and I are at the range, and these are the rabbit holes we'll go down where he'll have that in his hand, and then it'll be Chris will disappear for 40 minutes, come back, and then have a plan, and then 2 hours later we'll figure out if it was good or not, and then we'll go home with modifications to the original plan, and then we'll talk about it for 4 hours until we're ready to go to sleep, or I stop responding. One of the two.
yeah. So I put on this thing, right? And you can't really see, but it's light. But let's say
Yeah, your
I guess
camera
like
kind of fuzzes out. You can't read on your camera. It's like overlit.
so all right, this is assuming that your initial win call was 25% of max whatever. But if that's your 12 o'clock and now you're going 15 degrees, 30 degrees, whatever, you need to know where you started and what to do with that hold. So to go from here to here, you just double it, triple it, quadruple it to go this way, right? And this way, you're just going to hold a little bit less because that's the lower 25. But then if you start at 50, you might go left. So whatever your hold was at 50 to go this direction is going to be half whatever you held. But if you go to the right, it's going to be adding 50%. So if you were holding point 0.8, you're going to add point 0.4 to it, right? So it's going to be 1.2 or whatever. And then you're going to double it if it's above 90. And from 90 to 100, I just kind of said, fuck it, it's going to be the same hold. And then if you start at 75%, but you drop down to this 25, it's going to be a third of whatever you held. And if you go to 50, it's going to be two-thirds whatever you held. And then if you go above it, it's going to be 30% more. So if you held 10, you're going to add zero point 0.3. Or if you hold 1 mil, you're going to do 1.3 and you're going to be good. But all you would have to do is do your initial calculation. Then you know, oh, but these are the angles to the other targets. Well, this is your plan based on your percent of the distance. So whatever your percent of the distance is, that's what you're going to do. So it's a pretty quick thing, but if people have to stop and go, wait a minute, my initial call was 75%, but now it's straight up, and I made my percent of the distance off of 75% of max wind speed. Now what? Because if I'm holding the distance, that doesn't say anything about my initial call. But if you shoot a target and you're like, it's 80% of the distance, but the wind is coming from over here, now what? I'm going to go there. Well, if that's 80% of the distance and you know the angles, it's solved for you. So
Yeah, exactly. And that, I'm laughing because like we do all this stuff all the time, and we're throwing numbers out. This gun is this gun's that, this number's this number's that. You're gonna do this. You're gonna do, and it's like we don't have any reference. We're not like running with like our computers up and crunching numbers on a solver. This is all coming out of our head.
but it works. Yeah, but it works, which is cool.
Chris, the guys are
And
here. I'll put it up. Chris, the guys in the messages want you to
yeah,
put that up on the hide. They want you to make posts with your pictures and stuff. And so they want to see, yeah, you can't see it, it's whited out. They want
oh,
they want to see, like, hey, I did a live tonight. Here's some of my images. They just want you to kind of drop that on the hide somewhere and show them close-ups because you're farther back,
bet
but
they do.
yeah, your light
Subscribe to Hyde TV. I'm gonna put it on the Hyde TV subscriber
you just,
side,
yeah, but
just to be a jerk.
your light is washing out, and so you can't read what you have on
No,
there.
I understand. I'm just being a punk.
Yeah, no,
Like,
I get
oh,
it. I
you
get
really
it.
want it. I know you want the answer.
Yeah,
So
yeah, they do.
subscribe to the Hyde and you'll get it. I'll put it there.
Well, it's like these, you know what I mean? I mean, that's see how mine's white? You got to be like here to focus it. How
Yeah.
like there you can't see it, but then here you can.
Yeah.
But yeah,
No, I'll put it up. I'll put it up. But you
like
should
these
consider
will do
subscribing to the
everything.
Hyde
This is
because we're
100%
nice.
analog right there. I don't want to put it in the light too bright, but that will dope your rifle and call your wind. And just put it on your scope. It's that
Yeah,
easy. So that's crazy,
right.
but that's what we do.
Because you'll remember it after a couple times, but it helps to have that visual for sure.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
see I kind of think in pictures, so I see it, and I'm like, why can't you calculate it? It's like, oh, well, not everybody thinks like that. I'll put it up there, but we are trying to sell
Mm-hmm. Get people
classes
out.
and sell
We
all
want
that
people to
stuff.
come out and hang out with us. I got it.
But
We
you could
actually
figure
have
it
to
out
go and
yourself.
start listing the months. I got to go put the months in the events calendar, and I got to put them
Yeah.
up. I'm just so like
But if people want to do the custom, or I guess now it's not custom, but it's
the mentor. I would call it a mentor.
hunter.
Come out
No,
and
no, no. Well, the hunter class we're doing in April, um, there's spots left if you want to be in the hunter. So if you do NRL hunter and you want to do a specific class, it's a Wednesday, Thursday, but I think it'll be worth it. It's literally the next step from the hunter playbook that we've got on the hide. If you can do that stuff, there's more, and we'll tune you into that so that you could
yeah,
just
yeah.
optimize it for success.
Yeah. I mean, and really that's the only class that you have to have some it's better if you have some data, Cameo. It that's the best scenario because it's harder to true the data because nothing's KD really and there's so much terrain. They don't have a KD
Hmm.
range. So it's better to come to Cameo with at least true data. From there, everything else becomes positional, find it, range it, engage it. But your data becomes critical. Is that the
Yeah.
dog or something
I mean,
shaking your
people think like, oh, well, I got a good load and my gear meets the weight criteria. I'm good to go. And it's like, man, 90% of those hunter matches are all the other shit, not that thing. Like that
Oh, and
gets you in the door.
I was gonna tell you, Chris, if you want, do a article, but just like maybe in bullet point for best practice on your NRL Hunter, so you have all those series and video
Hmm.
with the reference from that series. What you could do if you want for the front page of the hide while I'm gone, do a best practice NRL Hunter based on those videos you did, and
Oh,
just
with
do
timestamps, or should I cut out the little
no, no,
bits and
no.
make
Just
separate
just
small
say
ones?
just have a cheat sheet that says, "Hey, these videos are up. They're 4 parts, and they look at everything for NRL Hunter. But I consider this the best practice here." And then you could do like some
Oh,
bullet
Riley, come
points.
on.
Yeah, she was
Okay. Yeah,
as
I could do that. She's on
yeah,
the
real
bed.
easy. But
The
just you don't change your
Come on.
videos. Just will reference your videos and use the article, and then and
Yeah,
just
I
say this.
understand.
Yeah, yeah. And then while I'm
Yeah,
gone,
I
and
could
then
do
I
that
could just
tonight. I just got to watch them. I got to
yeah.
watch them so that I can outline what I actually said. Because
Yeah,
really,
you
like, it's
do
just
that, and
like
I
this.
can
I'm like, I'm gonna start talking about this, and I just fucking blabber my mouth till I'm like, oh
right,
shit, it's
right.
been an hour.
But yeah, I just write an article and then send it over, and while I'm gone, and I could just take care of everything, and but yeah, that'll work out good. I was thinking that today, like, oh, Chris can do an article that basically says these videos are all encompassing, but here's some best practices out of that to think about. So
That's a
that
great idea. I'll do that. I'll literally do that tonight.
yeah,
I should
perfect.
have it done by tomorrow. But people had sent me messages. What can you do a PRS playbook next? Or can you do a mountain hunting play
Yeah,
next? Or can you do a rifles only playbook next? And I said, first of all, I haven't shot many PRS matches in the last few years. I would have to have in one season at least 4 or 5 matches under my belt to feel like I haven't like, there's an expiration date to shooting competitions because it's always evolving. And yeah, I'm qualified and I've got trophies and whatever, but some of them are pre-COVID. I need to re-up that credibility before I do that. And then secondly, like I'm trying to pay rent. I might do that as classes or open to anybody that's a subscriber on the hide, but there's going to be a point where some of that detail is going to be for subscribers
yeah.
on
I would
Hide
put a price
TV.
on some of those. Put a price tag now. Start. You got a bunch
Or
of
not
free.
not a price, but like if you're a subscriber, you have access to
Yeah,
everything.
yeah,
So that it's not saying like, oh, I'm going to charge you $100. It's like, no, if you're paying $9.99 or whatever it is or $14 a month to the hide, you'll get all that.
yeah.
Um, but that whatever goes to you goes to the tech people, and just getting $1 is more than nothing. On the podcast, I say the same thing. Like, there's 14,000 listeners and 100 subscribers. Like it's like, man, I'm going to keep doing it, but I do appreciate the fact that, like, it's
You can even
it's the
I mean,
same
it's
price.
yeah, it's better on the apps, the Podbean apps, but I was
Yeah.
gonna say, if you didn't wanna, you could even just throw them on the hide and have them available.
Yeah, because it's like, dude, if you would let me shoot 3 rounds out of your rifle, like, it's the same price. Like, uh, so it's like, wow, I really appreciate it. Like, sometimes that saves the day. Um, but on the other hand, like, I like sharing information too. So, we end up just giving away most of everything, but it just
Mhm.
requires a little sleuth work because really, like, if it's publicly available knowledge, like, it should be free. If it's something that hasn't quite yet become there, but you want to get a head start, like, maybe that's worth a couple bucks.
Right. Well, that's the goal
Um,
for the next 3 months, is to get this program in place and to get the lessons and to get these programmatic pieces up on the hide. So, you know what I mean? Now that and they're doing a
yeah.
big update that's supposed to take care of a few little hiccups in the back next month, because I was talking to them today, and I had a conference call with my team, and the updates are coming within a month. They're actually, for the guys that are on the hide that are listening, they're going to be enhancing and improving. They showed it to me today, the classifieds. They're going to make it where it's like its own page and its own thing, and we can feature ads. So they're going to be blowing the classifieds out next, because that's like the most,
Oh,
that's super popular. And there's tools now to make it better, and they have access to them. And so, like I said, she was showing me today where they're going with the classifieds. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, yes, do that immediately. But they're in the next 30 days, they're going to be doing a Realms High TV update, and then I think from there, most of the lessons and the different things as well, we'll be able to, Chris, we can go direct at that point with the lives to Sniper's Hide. We won't have to do the link in there anymore. I'll be able to add it. And so they're going to be doing a lot within the next 30 days, and then when that's done, then the next charge I asked them to finish was the app, and to add the quick win to the app. So the
hmm
Gravity Ballistics app, that should be kind of kicking in March, April, probably April, May, I guess. But then March, we're supposed to have the upgrade to high TV. And then I've asked them, and they're going to try to be working in to blend the forum and high TV. So there's windows into high TV of some kind in the forum. So I want, like,
nice.
when we're live, I want something that says we're on air in the forum too, so people know. If they're not looking at the home page, they may not know we're live. So I kind of want to make it where people stop into Hide TV, check out what's going on there, and then go into the forum and do what they do in the forum. But I'm going to be putting a
That
window.
sounds good.
Yeah, and then the classified improvement should really, change that game completely as far as the classifieds go, which are a huge driver to the site. So the
Yeah.
fact that that brings eyeballs is important.
Okay, two things. First of all, I'm
Sprees.
channeling my inner Frank.
Yep, dude. I have a
Secondly,
five
I
5 pound bag of Pez.
I talked to Andy Hawkins and asked him because, to get the machine time has a fee, and then they need a certain amount of metal used to make rings, but um, it's not solidified. But ballpark, if we were going to make 2.5-inch rings, 34 millimeter of their single, like,
Would you
PRS.
want to go
Yeah,
2.5 or just 2 overall and a 1/8 overall?
well, no, there's no riser, so it's just a fixed height. But the one and
Right.
a half on a 1-inch riser is 2.5. But we could argue about the actual height. I just wanted to know, like, how much is it going to cost? Um, the Hawkins single piece, like, competition PRS, whatever that is, we would need to order like 50 of them minimum. Of course, we'd have to pay for it all at once, and they would be about $300 each. So if we could find I'm going to get 7 of them. So we need 43 people or people
Well, we
willing
could
to
do a group
get
buy
4.
and we can try to earn I can go on the Hide and say we're going to order these from Hawkins. Do anybody want to order them? And we could try to get a run ordered up front, doing a group buy in the
Totally, but
Hide.
that's why I mentioned it on the live, because if there are enough people that want to get a solid single without using the riser, like reliable, because I'm worried about the risers, we're not going to mark it up, so it'll be about $300 a set. I don't know what their normal competition ones run for, because I'm sure they're marked up wherever they're being sold. But so we would just cost, whatever it costs to make it. Great, you could have it at that same price, but we got to have 50 of them and they're about $300. So um like I said, I'll probably get 6 or 7 of them, at which point we've got like 43 unaccounted for. I'm sure you'll get some. So if 40 people or 20 people want 2 each or whatever, we need to account for about 40 willing people to pay $300 for 2.5, or
Yeah, we
if
could
it's
figure something out. I'll look and see
whatever
where
it
I'm
is.
at, and maybe we could just put an order in and say we're gonna make, we want 50 mounts at $300, and here you go, and then we'll sell them out from
But
there.
that's the minimum. So if people wanted 100 of them, we can make 100. But
Yeah, yeah. But
he
I
won't.
was
He won't
I
make
was
10 for
thinking
us.
personally, I felt watching everyone, talking to everyone, no riser, no nothing. I feel a 1.8 overall and a 2.0 overall are going to be the correct heights. The 2.0 for a chassis, the 1.8 for a fiberglass style stock. Um, just because of the limited cheeks with some, and I get it, but some people still want a little more cheek. But I almost think 2.5 might be a touch too high overall for the mount. One other
Oh,
thing too. Oh, I got to tell you this. Scotty Parks told us we have to look for movement in the scope when it's up higher. When they test scopes and they hit 150 at Vortex, scopes will shift because of the recoil and the mass up high. So you have to witness mark the scope when it's up that high on a bigger recoiling a centerfire versus a 5.56. So he said we have to monitor the rings or the movement of the scope in case they're sliding, because Vortex, when they were testing things, saw the scopes move the higher you went
oh, so just slide, not the reticle, but the tube sliding in the
in
rings.
the rings. Correct. Because it's like the
Okay,
old
I'll mark them now.
Yeah, yeah. It's like the old McCann, the bigger rails that used to shear the base groups off. You're higher in the air, you have more mass. So there's potential that it moves. And he said when they hit 1.5, they noticed things started to move on them.
I'm looking to see if there's any like dust marks, but there's nothing there. But
Yeah, yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
that's a good thing to look for.
Yeah, because I
If it
talked to
doesn't move, then it's not going to move,
Right,
but
right,
you'll
right,
notice it right
exactly. But
away,
I
right?
talked to Scott for like an hour the other night, and he talked about this. He talked about a whole host of different things that are going on, and all kinds of neat little insights talking to Scott where the scope manufacturers are. Like he was saying, Hollow Sun has become like the number one optics in the world
Hmm. I'll
just
just
because of
fucking Loctite the tube.
yeah. Well, but it may not move, but he's saying higher rings will have a tendency to slide.
That's a great thing to check. Yeah,
Yes,
I'm excited
yes.
to check it. I'm gonna put
He said put a
marks on
pencil
all of
mark. He
them.
said just put a pencil mark right at the ring and put a pencil mark on each side and keep an eye on it and see if it moves.
Right, because with the recoil, the rifle's gonna go like this.
Right.
So yeah, you just have to do it on one side to see it
Yeah, yep, yep,
go.
totally,
Yeah,
totally.
got it. Easy.
So,
I'll
cool,
test
man.
if tomorrow's nice. I'll go test it tomorrow.
Yeah, we're leaving like it was -5 this morning. I got up like my clock, and it has a thermometer in it. It's close to the window. It's like in the window sill. And it was like 57 in the room this morning. I was like, "Holy shit, that's cold." But it was like -5 out there. Normally we have the house at like 65 when we sleep, but it was down to like 57 this morning.
it was cold. I had to go to parent teacher conferences, so I was warming up my car and I scraped it, but my scraper doesn't give like the nice scrapes. Wow, did it
Yeah,
read
it
my
did.
hands?
It did. It did the
Oh,
heart.
hearts. Um,
I can't. It
so it
doesn't
was
like
like
me.
narrower
Yeah,
things,
it
and then
didn't
I
like
turned
me.
into the sun and I couldn't see at all.
I could do this. Then
So then I
it'll
had
do
to
that.
stop and I went and scraped it, but I still couldn't get all the ice off. So I had to just sit there in the sun until the sun melted it because it was so
Mm-hmm.
cold. And ice was still forming
You're right.
like on the empty spots. I'm like,
Yeah, it
it's
was.
crazy. But I
It
couldn't
was
see
cold.
anything.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you. Cool, man.
Well
I'm
shit,
good
let's
for now.
let's
We've been
jump
on.
off and
What's that? Yeah. Start doing some stuff and tell everybody thanks. We're gonna be going over the weekend, so I won't. I may do a live when I'm in Florida because I have this remote capability. So maybe like one of the nights or something, I'll get a hold of Chris and we can go live or something. But I may try one on the road just to see what it does. So maybe Tuesday or Wednesday I'm coming home. Um, uh, Tuesday I'll uh I'll try a live or something.
yeah, I'll be here and doing the same thing. If
Cool.
you want, or because you're gonna put this on your podcast, or are we just gonna put this on
It's just
a
on
live?
High
Because I could take
TV
the
and YouTube.
audio.
Yeah, yeah. You can
If you
grab it
could pull the
from.
audio out, I could throw it on the straight dope and just put it out as an episode. Because sometimes our talks are
Yeah, yeah.
cool enough where it's like, shit, we should share this with more people. But I think some of the stuff we talked about Sniper's Hide is worth sharing with all the communities. I guess probably 99% are listening to both, so they're going to hear this anyway. But
Right, right.
I
No,
could
we
put the
can
audio on the straight dope.
I can upload this if you want to get it because this will put a hard copy on my computer. So do
Mhm.
you want me to just upload it to Vimeo and then you can download it? I'll put it in the raw and I'll upload
Sure. Yeah, and I'll just pull the audio off.
Oh, hey, so one
Yeah.
of the guys got a DNT and he loves it. I appreciate that. I'm working with Yee. They're going to be doing some new stuff. He called me yesterday. I talked to Yee for like 45 minutes. It was funny. He's afraid of birds. I think that's amazing. And I told him they're dinosaurs, so I get it. But yeah,
He's
so
Chinese and
yeah.
COVID was bird flu. And... All right.
So
Never
cool,
mind.
man. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Thanks for listening. And I'll upload this, Chris, to Vimeo to the raw, and then you can download it and you can have these and they'll be in the Vimeo for you to grab anytime you want them.
Oh, sweet. Yeah. Because then I could just, I was going to say I could suck off the audio.
Yeah, you could just separate
Yeah,
the
there I am
audio
being handsome again.
there you go. Handsome. All righty. All
Yeah.
right,
So those of
guys.
you that weren't listening, the joke was like a threesome is having sex with three people. Having sex with two people is a
A twosome.
twosome. And maybe
When
that's why people call you handsome.
handsome. You're very handsome. All right, guys, we're out of here.